Hello, and welcome everyone to our seventh episode of our Partnership Ecosystems Improvement Series. Today, we will dive into Channel Readiness Part 2, Your Channel in a Box. We hope this discussion will provide you with the ability to round out your partner program with the best assets for your partners to be successful. So, with us today, as always, we have Gilles Esposito, and Gilles has worked in channel partnerships, alliances for more than 20 years, worked with distributors, vendors, and partners, and really brings a 360-degree view to the conversation on partner ecosystems. And Carlo Breda, our fearless leader at Gorilla. Carlos spent over 3 decades in the channel. He's passionate about partnerships and how companies can optimize the power of their partner ecosystems. And I am Aaron Solomon, and I'm the Director of Operations here at Gorilla. So let's kick this off. Last month, we defined what channel readiness is. So Gilles, love to hear a summary of kind of last month and kind of use that to bridge into our conversation today.
Okay. So hi, everybody. Hi again for some of you. So channel readiness is, let's start simple. It's a concept by which when you start building an ecosystem or when you continue improving on an ecosystem, your partners will perceive you, or your prospective partners will perceive you as being channel ready, if not channel friendly, in the sense that you have put in place everything that needs to put in place for your ecosystem to be successful. And why is it important? Because the answer is simple, because partners are today courted by an incredible amount of vendors that want them to resell or promote their solutions. Therefore, they usually very long line cards, lots of things to represent and talk about with their customers and prospects on an everyday basis. This will require for them a certain amount of things in terms of decks, trainings, processes, and all that to be able to conduct those sales and hopefully close them. And they simply don't have the time to wait for things. When they need something, they need it now. And when you will be entering your cycle of recruitment, if you build a new ecosystem, if you expand on an existing one, we strongly advise that you have all these things, or most of these things, as many as possible, at the ready, because the questions will come, the ask will come, and it's better for you to say, yep, we have this. It shows that you understand channels. It shows that you're ready. It shows that you're taking care of them, rather than, we don't have this. Let us start working about it, which usually means they're not going to see it before a few weeks, if not more than that. So that's why channel readiness is important. Some partners will help you with that, and they will give you a very clear list of what they expect before they engage in a partnership with you. These are usually the larger partners that are very well organized. And some other will make those things very mandatory and will not discuss any further with you if you do not have the baseline of these things aligned and ready. Some of the things for channel readiness are not necessarily going to be required by partners, but we believe you still need to have them. And some are tangible, some are not. So the one that are to go to what we've been describing last time in the first part of this webinar, we started by talking about the culture of the company. So that's an intangible, but clearly we've explained throughout the 7, you said, Aaron, of those webinars that we have, that a culture of channel is, or culture of partnership is important. For too long, channels and channel organization within companies have been siloed, and arguably it's probably the area of operation of a company that needs to be the least siloed, because it impacts pretty much everything a company does internally. Therefore, it is really important that from the top to bottom, you have a culture where people understand what it is that you're trying to do through the development of a partnership ecosystem, and that it is supported by everybody. So it sounds like, everybody can say, yes, we are. The reality is very often very different from that, right? And it's unfortunately, even today, channels and partnerships and all that are everything associated to that is very, very often an afterthought. So having the buy-in for that is critical, from your CEO all the way down to every department that may be impacted by this or is impacted by this. The next thing we talked about is having a strategy. So Gorilla will soon have a strategy 101 guide available for everybody to have a look at it, but it's important to know where you're at today, where you're going tomorrow when it comes to your partner ecosystem, and how you're going to get from today to tomorrow, right? How are you going to be achieving this? And it's important that this aligns with the partners that you're targeting and that they understand what your strategy is going to be, right? And I'm going to go very quick on what we covered last time. The next thing, which we covered, which is important, is that you are perceived by the prospective partners you are going to want to recruit, quote unquote, it's a partnership, so it's not exactly recruitment, but the partners you are going to try to bring into your ecosystem. It's very important that you know your market, what it is that you're doing. So everything relating to your times, your competition, and so on and so forth. Partners need to know if they're going to be, fighting for a time that is $1 billion or fighting for a time that is going to be $20 million, right? And that will steer their decision depending on not only what the available market is, but also, what is the growth of it and the perception they have of you, of your knowing what it is that you're doing in your market. It's important. Equally important, and part of that is your knowledge of your competitors and those type of things. Your partners are going to be, during sales cycle, are going to be exposed to discussion with their prospects or their existing customers, with questions about why is your solution better than this solution or that solution. They need to be able to answer this, so you need to provide them with the information. And if you do not do that, more often than not, they will not want to be perceived as somebody that talks about things they don't know anything about. Therefore, they will avoid the discussion and talk about other things on their line card, most likely. And what's important when you talk about time and all that is that you provide third-party validation. So by third-party validation, I'm talking about analyst reports and this type of thing, like the things you can find at Gartner or Forrester or IDC, those type of information that support what it is that you're saying. Otherwise, every vendor would go out there and say, "Oh, our time is like $10 billion. Everybody's going to get rich in selling our solution." What it is? Well, also part of this, you want to talk about and explain why your solution is relevant, in the sense that it's ready to be adopted by the market, right? We've seen very often solutions that were ahead of the adoption curve, which is usually not a good thing. So you need to be able to argue this. And also, if your solution is already in the past the hype and in the commodity area of your of the product life cycle or the adoption life cycle, you want to be able to have a strategy that reflects that, because if you become a commodity, then pricing is going to be extremely critical, most likely, and other factors, versus when you're early in the adoption curve, it's a little bit different, right? What else did we discuss about? We discussed about processes, right? So processes are important. And having processes for the normal things, such as everything from quote to cash, so that your partners know if they can self-quote or if they need to reach out to you to get a quote for being able to promote your solutions. They need to know what the process is. Who do I reach out to, or and so on and so forth. How do I do it? But other things, such as placing orders, when do we get paid, and all that. All that kind of stuff is important for them to understand. This is the easy part of designing processes here, and then there's all the processes that are pertaining to exceptions, which are important, right? So your special pricing request, credit line issues, conflicts, channel conflicts, right? How are you gonna be taking care of this? Escalations of any sorts, and so on and so forth. The more of this you have at the ready, and when partner asks for it, they know they have this. All of these things that we're going to be discussing about in terms of assets and all that should ultimately be consigned into some form of a playbook or into your channel programs, or both, that will be left behind with your partners, your new partners, so they know exactly what to do. You should walk them through all those type of things. And ultimately, it should be their reference for when something happens. They know exactly what to do right away, rather than having to run after your channel manager and try to find out how is it that I'm going to be dealing with this, right? We talked about the channel program. So it's important that you have a channel program. It doesn't have to be a 20-page document. It can be a single-page document. It can be anything. But it needs to reflect the things that are important for the partners, such as how do I register an opportunity? If there is any tiering, you need to explain how the tiering functions and what benefits they can get out of it. If there's any requirement in your program, it needs to be conscribed into that partner program so that partners know what are the must they need to deliver. And it can be nothing, or it can be a lot of things. That's up to you. We can talk about that later when we'll have something about designing a partner program, but it needs to exist, right? So I just talked about registration, opportunity registration process. You need to have one. Partners need to understand what it is that they need to do and how they need to do it. So ideally, you would have a partner portal that embeds that technology or that aspect, that function of letting a sales representative or anybody else at your partner company being able to log in. Actually, it's really good to have a portal. I think that's personal preference because it's a one-stop shop where you can find everything, all the documentation you have, all the assets, the ability to register opportunity and to update them, and so on and so forth, right? Have access to your marketing events, all that kind of stuff, rather than trying to look at 12 different places to find all that information. Your key assets are very early on, and for the life of the partnership are going to be salespeople and pre-sales people. So therefore, it's important to understand that they don't have the time to waste in tracking things, and they like to be able to put their hands right away, know exactly where to go to get everything they need at any given time. We talked about that, registration, and that's pretty much what we've covered so far. So this is really part of the baseline, and we wanted to start high and then go down and this and that. We understand that not everybody is going to be able to have a partner portal from the get-go, although there's very efficient and very affordable solutions out there that enable even startups and all that to start early by developing a good portal where people will be able to do all the things we've mentioned. By people, I mean your partners, right? And you as well. And it's usually a good way to mass communicate with your entire ecosystem when you have updates and whatnot, right? So that's pretty much it for what we covered last time. Carlo, did I miss anything? I think that's
no,
it.
I think that's a phenomenal summary. It's just been absolutely beautiful to hear.
All right. No, it was an amazing summary. So now that the vendors got their program defined and their process in place, I know today we're going to talk about what sort of what do they do next? What is the kind of the expectation of the partners of some assets to have in place, and what is going to help enable them the best way possible?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can jump in here
Yep.
because I'd like to pick up on where Gilles was leaving the topic earlier, talking about total addressable market and having that research and having a very clear idea of what's possible. And the next point I wanted to bring up in that kind of logical sequence is business planning with a partner. So I know that Jules is very keen on the idea of having very clear ROI expectations set with the partner. I've seen, I've seen a number of different situations, but the situations that have really excelled are the ones whereby, first of all, you allow enough time at the very beginning of the relationship with the partner to build trust, all right, and to build that kind of human empathy between the two companies. That's really, really essential. That's a good time to then start looking at business planning together, because it's a collaborative process. And the thing about it is that you've got to be absolutely honest about two things: about expectations, timeframes, and expectations on cost. Now, something that frequently happens is that sometimes unintentionally, in fact, frequently unintentionally, the vendor misleads the partner on what the cost of the relationship is from the partner's perspective, because it's not necessarily about the cost of the program or the cost of the training or the fact that the training might be free. The real cost for the partner is going to be the time cost. And in order to take a new product to market and be successful with it, there will have to be a significant amount of time and resource spent by the partner's management on oversight and strategy, by the partner's sales leadership and marketing leadership, and then the folks that actually execute on it. And when you actually sum up the amount of time on salary expenses, plus benefits, plus burden that that a company has to sort of face, these costs are high, right? And frequently, I would say, partners don't quite realize that. And so therefore, as they go into the relationship, they will have expected to put less commitment in it. And so what will happen then is that the partnership won't fly, because they're not putting enough time and effort into it. So I've seen an example of how of when I've seen it done really, really well was with when I was working with SAP as a client. And SAP had these different lines, and this was at the time when SAP was really making a big move into the mid-market from being really enterprise only focused. And so they required a new partner ecosystem to manage the mid-market. And at that point, of course, it was time to have the frank conversation with the partners at the very beginning. And the fact is that the cost of partnering, of creating a partnership with SAP from a partner's perspective, was in the millions of dollars, in the low millions of dollars over a period of 2 to 3 years, sometimes even a little bit more, right? And so that kind of awareness is important, because I think it's setting out the right level of expectation, showing the ROI. That is, it was phenomenal, right? But having very clear directive on the fact that, look, we'll support you, but you will have to invest a considerable amount of time on the ramp up, and the ramp up is going to take a long time, and you'll probably run the line at a deficit in the first year, but then the ROI will come, and the ROI will come at these levels, and you got to be very precise about those. And I think also one thing I would say is, again, this is in terms of channel readiness, is to say, well, it will cost you money, but these are the things that we will do to support you, to make sure that you achieve that ROI. So if you do what you're supposed to do, and we support you in the way that we are suggesting we will support you, you will achieve the ROI goals. And I just think that it's important. Again, it's that frankness, that authenticity, and that sincerity at the beginning of a relationship, and going about the ROI discussion in very frank terms. What do you think, Gilles? Would you?
No, I agree with everything you said. It's important, and that requires because not two partners operate the same way. It requires for the people that are going to be involved in the I'm going to keep calling it the recruitment cycle, although it's not recruitment anymore. It's really, what deciding whether or not a partnership is relevant for the two companies when you have those discussions. But let's call it recruitment. During those discussions, you will probably, especially with small company, being involved with small partners, being involved with the CEO of the company. And if not, most likely you will be having discussion involving the VP of sales or chief revenue officer or whatever it is that is in charge of the entire sales cycle. And these people understand what you just said very well, right? And the fact that, again, we're not today like we were 20 or 30 years ago, where partners were dying to be accepted by vendors. Now it's the reverse, because there's so many brands available, so many new companies popping up every day, and I mean every day. And now the onus is on the vendor to make their proposition compelling. So the more you're going to be able to show to your partners that you understand how they operate, the more you're going to know, and that requires a lot of listening and good relationship as well, about their strategy, what it is that your partners are trying to achieve, and then tie their strategy with yours and show that there are synergies there that the two of you can work on together, partnership, and develop something that will contribute to both strategies, right? It's important, because when you're going to go through that recruitment phase, if they don't see the light right away, that this can significantly, and everything is in aggregate, right? No partner is waiting for you to make the day. They already have other brands that make the day, and it's an aggregate for them that things are making the day. It's more long term than that they usually look at something. It's not like, hey, I have a couple opportunities where they need an identity and access management thing. They're not going to onboard you with that. They will ask for a one-off. They will do a couple deals with you, and then they'll resume till something, but they will not actively promote your solution unless you fit in this, and unless you address the things that Carlo were just mentioning, and show them that you understand that it's a process, it's a journey that takes a little bit of time and all that. Equally, let me just finish with that. The people that will understand this the least are unfortunately not the partners. It's the management of your company. Till today, we still see the same thing. So I'm going back to step number one, which is this adoption and understanding of the entire, internal company that you represent. Most people still look at partnership like, we give them 20 points, they go sell for us, the end, right? And there couldn't be further from the truth by thinking that this is the way it works, right? In some instances, it will be like this, but the general rule is not that anymore. It's not going to work this way. They're not going to drop everything they're doing just to go start promoting their product and all that, and then they can see some strategy impact from you, and that's really important for you to address, right? But your CEO needs to understand that. Your VP of sales, if you're reporting to a VP of sales, and all those type of thing. And Thierry, thank you for throwing this tidbit here. It's exactly what we're talking about. It is really important to have like a vision that is far more open, far wider than just, we give them 20 points. They're an extension of our sales force. They go do the job. We forget about them. We don't do anything and all that. There are some commitments that you're going to put on the table, and for which they will react with some commitments as well, right? Writing out of the gate commitments that are only going to be tied on revenue threshold and that kind of stuff, and number of net new logos and that kind of stuff is can be done. It's nice to have objectives and tangible ones like that and that kind of stuff, and you can put them in a time scale and so on and so forth. But if you focus only on this, and the only thing you do after that is go back to them at the end of the quarter, every quarter, and ask them what's in the pipe and what are you going to get from me this quarter, your relationship is not going to develop very far.
Yeah.
Not very far, unless your product is an absolute commodity. You're selling keyboards and mice, and and without any disrespect for the companies that are producing keyboards and mices and all that, even these guys don't make those mistakes, right? Even the Logitech of the world and all that, they have partner programs that are far more solid than that, where they look at way more than just commoditizing their product and having just a huge volume of things. But by nature, their product is a volume product, so they do that. Yours is probably not. So anyway, you were going to add something, Carlo.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, again, chiming in and following through with that thought of the business plan. It's you're right. It is at the threshold between recruitment and initial readiness. But then the business plan needs to stay as an active document, and this is something I really, really encourage everybody not to do the business plan as something that you do at the very beginning of the relationship and then forget about it. It requires ongoing tender love and care in that relationship with your partner, and so therefore, in terms of readiness, you got to make sure that you are ready to provide enough sales support and partner management time.
Oh, we'll go there. Yeah, it's
To the partner,
it's part of the list. So that's of course it is. When it comes to business planning, although I like to say a little something about this. I talk about the funnel vision of vendors when they talk to partners all the time, because when you as a vendor you engage with a partner, the only thing you see at this point is this little cone of relationship between you and them, right? And every vendor, or most vendors, seems to forget that the people you're talking to at this point have the same thing going on with 50 or 100 or 250 other vendors. Imagine what Carlo was saying about the time strain of, especially you who they don't know yet, adding to already a long list of people with whom they do business planning, QBRs, and all that kind of stuff. If every single rep at a partner would do business planning with every single vendor they have on the line card, and would do QBRs with every single vendor they have on the line card, those people would stop selling. They wouldn't have any time to do anything else, which means they don't do it with everybody, which means they have their preferred vendors, which means you're not probably going to be one of those at the beginning. Right. So when I see channel chiefs, or people that have the title of channel chiefs, asking their channel manager from the get-go, right? Hey, you got new partners and all that. Okay, well, you need a business plan with those partners and all that. I'm like, no, you don't. And you're going to put a burden of time and irate your sellers and the people that are supposed to do another job than doing this with you, when you have not yet acquired that level of trust and confidence, relevance, and you're not yet one of their strategic partners and all that. And you're asking the same thing. You're a 20 people shop, and you're asking the same thing than Dell or Oracle or Lenovo or IBM or whoever is asking those people, right? But with them, they're making millions. With you, they're making zero for now. So it's important to get there and to do all this kind of thing at some point as you scale and all that. At the beginning, my recommendation is that you're going to have 10, 20, 50 partners when you're going to start your ecosystem within the span of 18 to 24 months, right? You want to do business planning? Do it yourself. Do it vocally. Do it, don't make it like a big thing and all that. Keep it simple. So that's going back to what we say all the time. It's like there are 3 pillars that are really important when you design something. And one of them is simplicity. And simplicity is done in the sake of saving them time. So they have more time to do what they do every day, what they need to do. Those organizations are meant to only do one thing: sell. Not write business plan, not do QBRs, not do all those kind of things. This will come, but don't focus on this at the beginning. That's a big thing. But now we're like more in the strategy than in the channel readiness, right? So I'd like to switch back to what it is that you need to have at the ready, before you start recruiting your partners, right? So clearly, there's a number of things we've discussed and all that that are in preparation of all that. But when you're going to be in front of them, right? What do you have at the ready that is going to be useful for them to believe that you're supporting them properly, and to believe that they can go in front of prospects? Think, always put yourself in the shoe of the sellers and the pre-sellers. They're going to go in front of prospects and existing customers and saying, hey, we added company XYZ to our portfolio, and here's what they do, and here's how it may impact you, Mr. Customer, and all that. What is it that they're going to need to be able to do this properly? And without the fear to look like clowns, because if they have the belief they will look like clowns if they start talking about your product, guess what? They will not talk about your product. They don't want their customers or their prospects to believe they're not solid salespeople, right? Or pre-sales people. So what is it that they're going to need to be able to do that? And if you put it this way, then it gets a little easier to understand what it is that they need. And if you don't know, if it doesn't come naturally, if you're in the business of managing channels, you probably know salespeople. I hope you do, because if you don't, there's something wrong. But you probably know salespeople at some channel partners and that kind of stuff and all that. That's my mantra. Go and talk to them and ask them, when you have a new vendor, what's cool, what's not cool, what it is that you like when they come to you and all that, which are the one you like to work the best with, because, what's their level of channel readiness and how do you define channel readiness? Me, I put a list of things I've seen in the past 22 years, 23 years. That's fine. There might be new things. There might be thing in what I'm going to tell you about all the assets you need to have at the ready that are completely irrelevant, right? And agreed with Thierry again. You're early in this, right? You're not going to be able to have all of this at the beginning. It's a journey. You're going to write a chapter after another one. You're going to progress and all that. But that ultimate recommendation work for everything from strategy to anything else. Ask the partners. They know what they need more than you do. They know their business more than you do. They know their market more than you do, and they always will. And in aggregate, they have a vast amount of knowledge that will help you prioritize the things you need to do in terms of channel readiness and the element of your strategy and what should be in your partner program and so on and so forth. So without further delay, I'm going to go into it, right? We talked about the processes, right? We talked about the partner program. We talked about having a strategy. We talked about the culture. Now there's other things that are going to be in front of them. Well, the first thing is, when you're going to be in front of them, you're going to pitch what? You're going to pitch the partnership and what you have a deck for that, right? Or do you have a value proposition that is well articulated so that it clearly, in a very short amount of time, is capable of showing them what it is that you're doing? How are they, or is this going to be impacting them being the partner, right? And how it's going to impact them, right? And you need to have this, right? You need to be able to articulate this. If you go in a show and you meet the CEO of company XYZ and he says, what are you doing? It says, well, we're a vendor and I'm in charge of building a partner ecosystem. And he tells you, oh, I got a couple minutes. Tell me what it is that you're doing for your partners. You need to be able to articulate this very quickly and very efficiently. So you need to have a value proposition. Too often do I see people, again, they go to a partner and say, hey, do you want to be a partner with me and sell my stuff? That's not a value proposition, right? And in this day and age, this is not going to go anywhere. And if you have partners that sign up for this, they're desperate. That most likely they are desperate, right? So that's the first thing you're going to be starting with, right? And the next thing is this value proposition is probably going to be sitting in a deck where you're going to be pitching to your partners when you meet them. But chances are not every meeting is going to be the same. Sometimes you're going to meet with the CEO first, right? So you have to have a deck at this level that will appeal to them, right? And you have to have answers in this deck that will show that you're prepared and ready to answer a lot of things about, you have ideas about what your program is going to look like. Maybe the CEO is going to ask you if there's any back-end rebates. Did you think about the possibility of doing back-end rebates in your program. Maybe you didn't, right? Or maybe you don't want to. I mean, no matter what the case is, you need to be ready to answer those. But when you're going to talk to pre-sales engineers, it's going to be different, right? So you need to have a portion of your deck or a specific deck that is addressed to that. And when you're going to talk to salespeople, it's also going to be different. So your deck is going to need to have a money slide. I can talk for hours about the money slide because I've seen this missing so often. But show the reps how much money they're going to make based on different scenarios of success, from very low to very high, everything in between, or 3 levels, right? Medium, high, low. Show them how they're going to make the first year, the second year, the third year in aggregate, and so on and so forth. Blending things such as, oh, we already have a spiff. So if you combine the spiff with the commission you're going to make and all that, blah, blah, blah. Those are things that are going to talk to salespeople that probably are not going to talk to a pre-sales engineer, and certainly not going to talk to a CEO. He doesn't care. He cares about the big picture, right? So you're going to have a deck that is ready for that, right? And your deck is not going to be 20 pages of pitching how great you are, how great your company is, and all that. Because if you have the meeting, they probably already have combed through your website and a few other websites to see where you sit in your space. So, and if they don't, you'll be able to explain to them, but make sure your deck is geared toward benefits for them, right? So people talk about features all the time, never take the time to transcode those features into benefits for their audience. Every time you're going to put something about your product, your company, your team, your whatever in your deck or in your presentation, make sure you've transformed this into a benefit for them, right? Otherwise, it's irrelevant. It's just irrelevant. If you tell me a car has, instead of having 5 gears, as 6 speed instead of 5 speed, it's great. But if you don't tell me what it does for me, I'm not interested, right? That's the way it is. So that's another one. As you go further into the relationship, and now you have maybe an organization that is willing to participate in this partnership with you, their sellers are going to go out and they're going to want to be able to pitch your stuff, right? So this is where the list of that assets starts getting long, right? Now, the value proposition that I was talking about that you're going to have between you and your partners to try to bring them into the ecosystem, now you're going to need to help them create one, or create one entirely by yourself that they will adapt to their language for them to pitch to their prospects and their customers to promote your product. This is very important for you to do. If you expect them to drop everything and start building those type of things, you're dead wrong. They will not do that, right? So you need to have this in place. It's really important. And you need to have everything that's going to go around that to support this value proposition. And here we're talking about use cases. I'm not a big fan of use cases because they're not real. As we know, use cases is what you do when you don't have customers, right? And when you have, and nobody cares because you don't have customers. What you want to do is being able to have, let me read a little something here. Yeah, we'll talk about the tools and products and all that. Absolutely, Monica. But what you're going to want to do is, if you already have customers and all that, and if you've had customers that are willing to partake into doing case studies with you, that's a lot more powerful. That means something, right? So, but use cases, if you don't have case studies, that's good. So start working on having a few of them, especially if they're verticalized and address specific problems in healthcare or finance or government or whatever. It's important you have this at the ready, because salespeople and pre-sales people will be able to relate to this and use this as a proof point example of something that you've been able to achieve, and that could be replicated with those prospective company they're trying to sell your stuff to. So that's really important. Carlo was talking about ROI. If there's an ROI calculation that needs to be made because your solution maybe is expensive or something like this, or even if it's not expensive, but if you have a way to produce a tangible ROI, not a bullshit ROI, but a real one, right? Then provide it, right? I know it's not always easy, but if your product has, you sell something that saves time out of the work life of people in HR, for example, or I don't know, then provide it. That's always something good that will help your sellers at your partners and the buyers at the company they're trying to buy to justify the budget for something like this. Everything you're going to add that is going to be an element that helps facilitate the sale or increase the chances of the sale to succeed or reduce the sales cycle is going to be very appealing to your partners, right? Um, for them to be able to continue selling to sell your product, they're going to need to be able to talk about it. So here's a big kicker here. Training is the state of training when it comes to the onboarding of partner is deplorable, in the sense that it's always an afterthought. From everything I've observed, the only good training programs that I've seen, and it doesn't have to be super articulated, like you're going to find the one from Dell again, or Oracle, or those, or Microsoft, or those companies, right? But you need to have something, because again, if pre-sellers and salespeople are not capable of talking about your product, they're just not going to talk about it. As simple as that. Sorry. Unless you're a complete game changer in the industry, which I haven't seen in 20 years, they're just not going to talk about it. So you need to think about, how do we onboard our people, our people from the partnerships, our partner sellers or partner pre-sellers. Is it something we need to do in live instructor type thing, because there's going to be a lot of question? Or can we record demos? Can we record salespeople from our company pitching this, and then salespeople can review this all the time and that kind of stuff till they become fluent? Same with pre-sales people, and so on and so forth. Whatever it is that you're going to put out there, you need to have something, right? Because you will be asked the question. That's as simple as that. In extension, if you also have the ability to coach them and support them from a marketing element, it's important as well. And that also may not require as intensive a training as for salespeople and pre-sales, but it's nice. A lot of the companies you're going to have out there are not marketing capable, or very, very limitedly, right? They organize a few events and all that. They usually have one person. And I'm not talking about, again, the big partners like the Optives and whatnot, which have entire marketing departments that are very well articulated, very efficient in what they're doing and all that. But even these, the big one, they will expect help from you, right? So what is your process for co-marketing? You have something, you don't have something. Well, maybe you don't. There are companies like Gorilla that provide those services for startup and scale ups and all that to supplement their marketing department. Or you can do it yourself. But you need to have something. Otherwise, they're just not going to mass promote your stuff through social media events and this type of thing and all that, right? So you need to think about this. What else am I missing? So I was talking about training and this kind of thing, and somebody, Monica, was asking about question about tools and all this kind of thing to promote things. I don't know exactly where you want to go with it. We can have a full session about tools, because there are so many things out there. My advice when it comes to tools to benefit a channel program or a channel ecosystem, and we're talking specifically about resell motions here and that kind of stuff, is the PRM, right? The partner relationship management tool, because it has an asset library. Usually it has an opportunity registration. It has a communication module. And those three things are the most important when you want to manage operations with a partner. The rest is, you can develop things later and all that to help your partner with, generating leads or doing automated marketing stuff and this type of thing was co-marketing, right? And so on and so forth. But shouldn't be too much of your concern at the beginning. What should be your concern at the beginning, right, is to be able to make their life easy. And the only thing I see that is really making the life easy of partners is usually a partner relationship management solution, right? But that's my take. Carlo might differ on this. I don't know.
No, I mean, like you said at the very beginning, having a partner portal is a must. It's expected, right? Now, the trouble is that once you have a partner portal that you have to have because it's expected, you might expect partner engagement, and that doesn't really happen.
No.
So that's a sad thing, right? It's a double-edged sword, and the sad thing is that partners will never engage as much as you'd like them to on that portal. But when they do need, they'll obviously know that when they need a data sheet, or when they do need a value proposition deck or anything like that, that they'll know where to go and find it. That's for sure. Now, the trick is, and I think this is a big part of the art of making channel partnerships work well, is how do you drive your partners to your portal in such a way that it's painless for them? And how do you then engage with them to start driving, and that's what Monica is mentioning there, to drive increased sales and marketing activities for the vendor. So that's actually at the end of the day, that's the core of what Gorilla does and has been doing for the last gazillion years. Has been very much the idea of getting partners to execute more effectively and more methodically, and to be process driven in the process of generating opportunities for themselves and the vendor, right? So, in terms of readiness, as Jill was outlining before, you need to have all of the assets in place. You got to have the value proposition decks. You got to have the leaflets. You got to have some video material. You want to have some really nice demos that are available, video demos, self-paced demos, and all of that kind of information. Then you want to have templates. You want to create campaigns, campaign templates. Again, this is something that we do for all of our clients all the time. We create campaigns, we create assets for different verticals, for different types of situations. We load those on the portal in such a way that the partners can then go and choose what campaign they want in order to go ahead and launch a campaign towards that group. Usually, portals these days will have integrated, as we do at Gorilla, we have Portal Partner Pulse, and integrated within Partner Pulse is a very, very sophisticated through channel marketing automation platform. So imagine Marketo or HubSpot designed for channel partner relationships. So whereby there are multiple stakeholders in producing a marketing campaign and launching that. The regular systems won't do that. You need to have a specific channel-oriented system, and those systems are called TCMA systems, through channel marketing automation. So a big part of what we do and what you should do in general as a vendor is create those campaigns, create those value propositions, load them, and then be ready to engage the partners and help them do that work of going onto the portal, choosing the right, the appropriate campaign, deliver that campaign via either social media marketing, content marketing, content syndication, or social media marketing, and then handhold them until they get the results. That process creates a cadence, a relationship with the partners, and usually at that point you're working more with the marketing managers on the partner side rather than the partner salespeople, right?
And when they have one.
Say it again.
When they have one.
When they have one, and that's the point. You're absolutely right. So when they have one, you'll be working with a different category of person. Often they don't have one, especially obviously if they're smaller partners, they may not have a marketing department, but they will have somebody that is kind of assigned the marketing function. It may be somebody that is, that heads up perhaps sales and marketing conjointly. In very small, with very small MSPs, VARs, you will have the owner that will do kind of everything. That's really on the very, very small ones. But in any event, they will always appreciate your support as a vendor, and the fact that you're ready, the fact that you've thought about it, the fact that you've thought about their customers and their prospects, and that you've actually developed and thought about new customer acquisition campaigns, and that you've loaded these beautiful campaigns there on the portal ready for them to adopt. The next thing you want to do, again, in relation to Monica's question, is be ready on the data side. So, and that's usually where things don't work out all that well, because more often than not, the partner doesn't really have much of a appropriate database. So they may have collected some data through trade shows. That data may not be nicely categorized and cleaned. They may have forgotten to validate that data in terms of making sure that it's not old data, that you're not going to get hard bounces on your campaigns, etc. So there's a lot of hygiene that needs to be done on the data first. First of all, so there's the availability issue. You need to, as a vendor, try to make data available to the partner in an effective manner. The data has to be appropriate, up to date, clean, sanitized, and appropriate. So some of the things the tricks that we have at Gorilla is, of course, we provide data solutions to the partners, so that they can say, okay, well, I'm going to take this campaign, I'm going to launch this campaign, I'm going to target cybersecurity buyers of a particular type in a particular state or country. What we can also do now, what we've been investing a lot, is AI technology to enhance and enrich that data. So, for example, what we're able to do now is to take a database like that and actually enrich it with psychographic information. So we think that the winning formula is having psychographic information on the actual people. What kind of mindset they have? Are they very highly technical? Do they want to be approached in a very technical manner? Do they want to be approached on more of a financial manner? Or what are their preferences? Do they want direct speak, or do they want to just see thought leadership? So the AI that we have will actually categorize folks in that manner so that your messaging can be appropriate. So that's one very interesting point. And then the other thing is, further to that, is having technographic information on the customers. So, for example, if you're selling, I don't know, software-defined data center, you want to make sure that you know what brands are already implemented at the target customer. And of course, it's all about having the right kind of data. So we supply that kind of data to the partners, so they have technographic information, psychographic information, and then intent data. So bringing in feeds from Bombora or other companies that provide intent data that shows a company's predisposition to buy a particular type of product because they're active in that search, right? So when you have all of this information, you package it nice and clean and tidy and simple for the partner to take the data, the right data, the richest data, marry it up with the right kind of campaign, with the right messaging, and then push it out through the platform. Then you'll get real results. The partners will be super happy because they're working really at the edge of digital marketing, and yeah, so that's I think these are key components about the portal and being ready in terms of engaging the partner on co-marketing activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carl, I'd like to, kind of hit on something, as you're talking about, campaigns and the types of, the value inside of the portal. So as these partners are getting into the portal, what sort of, let's really, talk about some of the top assets that vendors maybe overlook in putting in the portal for these partners to really enable them and get them to start launching some of these campaigns.
So I'll jump quickly on this one.
Yeah.
What's really baseline is to give the ability to co-brand, assets, whatever those assets are going to be, right? To talk about your product white papers, commercial slicks, case studies. What else? I'm trying to think about all this stuff, but analyst reviews, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. That they have the ability to take that information easily, or to access that information easily, co-brand it easily. So through a digital tool that you may have that enables to do that, being a portal or something else, partner pools, and package it and embed it within their own campaigns, right? It's as simple as that. So those are elements of marketing that very few companies think about early on. and usually react to. And again, as I was saying at the beginning, the problem when you react to something is that it's going to take weeks, if not more than that, to develop and refine and get ready. And your partners are going to be moving on at this point. They're going to do their campaign, and you're not going to be part of it, right? Same with events. Same with you need to have at the ready for them. Still in the concept of being channel ready. Elements that can address, how are we going to do co-events and those type of things, and all that, because some of them will come and ask you. Which means you need to be ready when it comes to your partner program design as to whether or not you're going to use co-op dollars or MDF or all that kind of stuff. And there's need to be processes for that that explains how it works, what you can do, what you cannot do, and so on and so forth. So in the concept of partner readiness, the point here is to say the partner marketing aspect is critical. It's important to show them that you have elements that will support their efforts in marketing. And if they don't have any marketing department, that will supplement or completely replace their maybe not to the extent of a full marketing department if they had one, obviously, because you have to do it for many partners. But if it's well implemented, it is scalable, and you're going to be able to do that, right? What at the end of the day, what you want is them to be confident they can talk about your stuff in confidence that they're not going to either look stupid or endanger the customer by making poor choices, that they have the ability to fill a pipeline, and that's where marketing comes into play, right? And then, of course, that they have the ability to close, and that's all the element of pricing and this and that. Somebody mentioned, in the list of things I was listing, from the partner deck for you to recruit them, the partner deck for their sellers to pitch your solution to their customers and prospects, right? Same for the pre-sales people and all that. You need to do all this ready. We talked about the elevator pitch, right? I didn't call it this way, but you need to have long and short elevator pitches probably put in place so their sellers have the ability to catch the attention of a potential customer, right? Those kind of things. But then there's many other elements that you're going to want to have a look at. And because we're coming at the end of this discussion, which derailed a number of times as they usually do, but that's okay. We will be publishing this as a document, right? Channel readiness. We will have something so that will be available on the Gorilla website, and I assume also on your web pages, where things will be listed exhaustively, right? And feel free to add to this and all that. Then the document's yours. You can do whatever you want with it, but we will provide this information where you will have, named specifically what type of assets you want to have at the ready when you're engaging with partners, so that they have as little to do as possible except put their logo on something and all that, and they have all the information they need to be able to be eloquent about your solutions and pitch it like they're experts. They're not going to become experts from day one, so you need to have at the ready also, and that's absolutely critical, more critical than marketing, I would say, but you need to have a form of support, not in the form of training, although it is an element of training, and that's internal with you. You need to make sure that your sales team or the people that are evangelists or capable of that are available for your partners to be able to pitch the product. Well, customers will want to have somebody educated in front of them. If it's not the seller will bring somebody from the vendor. You need to have people available to be able to do that, especially at the beginning, because not only it will be pitched better, it will give confidence to the customer to see that this particular partner has a good relationship with the vendor, to the point that they can bring the vendor expert at the table to talk about something important to them. And it will teach the seller by emulation, by seeing how your salespeople or your evangelists are pitching the stuff, right? And that's the best training you can get from a salesperson. It's to and it creates relationship and all that kind of stuff and all that. But you need a process for that, right? You need to put it in place, and you need to tell and show your partners as you recruit them that you have this available from a pre-sales perspective, from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective, and sometimes even from a post-sales perspective, because there's going to be implementations, there's going to be training to give to the customer and that kind of stuff. Who's going to do this? You need to be able to answer all those questions, right? And if it's documented, it's even better. So we will provide everybody that wants it with a document that clearly lists all the assets, and we'll even prioritize them for you. So We'll show you if you have bandwidth issue and if you don't have a million, channel people in your organization, which is probably the case. We will show you where to start and what's the logical things and what are the things that are more in demand when it comes to interacting with salespeople and pre-sales people at your partners. So.
Great stuff. Awesome. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Great topic, very interesting, and like Terry said, thought-provoking. Recording will be available on our website at gorillaict.com under our events tab, as well as on our YouTube channel. And as Gilles mentioned, we'll be putting together an overview of channel readiness and checklist for those of you that want to view it. That helps make sure you've thought through all the processes as well as the assets that you may want, your partners may want and need. So connect with us on LinkedIn and join us in June for our webinar discussion on partner recruitment. So much to talk and learn about that topic as well. So it looks like that'll be 2 sessions also. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.